That is, whenever we want to declare an object, first thing what you have to understand is object is an identifier. Okay, and the concept of declaration of variables or arrays, functions, classes, objects, the rule is, the syntax is, along with the data type you have to write the identifier. Now object is an identifier. Okay, and data type, so we have these data types: int, float, char, double, void, boolean. But in case of object declaration, you cannot use these data types, because these data types comes under basic types. These are the basic data types. For an object, we need to use user defined data type. So user defined data type is, say, class name. So class name is a user defined data type. So class name we have to use for the object declaration. So how I have to use means, like, there is a formula. Formula is class name. Formula is nothing but syntax. Class name, object name. Okay, if you want to declare one object. If you want to declare multiple objects, then class name, like OB1 object 1, OB2 object 2, OB3. Like this, you can declare multiple objects. At the end, you have to put the semicolon. Okay, so there are two syntax. So class name, object name, semicolon. Class name, object 1, 2, 3. Like that, you can declare multiple objects and put semicolon. Now, in this example, what we have done. So class, see, my class. Okay, my class is the class name. My class is the class name. Then I think the object is so A and B are the objects. A and B are objects. Okay, so how we have to write is, first write the class name. So my class. Okay, then you can directly use the second syntax, object 1, object 2, object 3, like that. So A is an object, comma, B is an object. Okay, so my class is the class name, A is an object, B is an object. If you want to use only one object, you can say A semicolon. Okay, if you want to use multiple objects, put a comma between each object. Okay, A comma B. So now in this example, that only we have done. Okay. So here, so after declaration of an object, next thing what we have to do, we can use these variables in the main function. Why? Because these variables are declared in public section. If suppose if I declare these variables in private section, okay, at these lines we will get error, because private means security. You cannot use outside the given boundary. Given boundary is starting of the class and ending of the class is given boundary for variables. So if you're using access specifier as private, we are creating a boundary for the variables. That means those variables we cannot take outside. We cannot use outside the class. So if you want to use outside the class means either in the main function or in the any other function, then make it as public. Yes, if you make it as public, in the main function you can use those variables. So how we have to use, first write the object name, then dot, then variable name. So this is applied for both variables as well as class. So that syntax is, say, see, for everything we have syntax. Syntax, general thing I will tell. Syntax to access member of a class. Member of a class means, so it can be, see, whenever we come across the word member of a class, it can be data or a function. Data means variables. It can be data or a function. Now we have the data. So data, in this example, what are the data? I, J and K. These are the data, nothing but variables. Now I want to use this. So what syntax you have to follow is, first write the object name, then put the dot. It is called dot operator. Dot. Then write the variable. Variable is nothing but data. Then you write the value. Like this you have to use. So according to that, A is the object, dot, I is the variable, equals to some value. Similarly, A is the object, dot, J is the variable, equals to some value. Okay, in that way we have used. You just observe in the document. So A dot I is equals to 100, A dot J is equals to 4. For K, we have not given direct value, we have calculated A dot I into A dot J. Okay. So A is an object, Dot is the operator. We have to call it as dot operator only. Dot operator. I is the variable. So a dot I is equals to 100. A dot j is equals to 4. A dot k is equals to a dot I into a dot j. See, for these lines, a dot I is equals to 100. A dot j is equals to 4. You remember the syntax, that is object dot variable. Once again, I will tell you object dot variable, or you can say object dot data member is equals to value. Okay. Next, you observe the memory. So that means, say, whenever you are storing the values, whenever you are writing like I is equals to 100, j is equals to 200, like that, it should need memory. If memory is there, then only it will occupy the values. So for this, you observe this diagram. So what they have done, okay, in this diagram. See here. When statement my class A comma B is executed, what happens? My class A comma B. This statement is executed means what happens? Two objects A and B are created and memory is allocated. Say memory is allocated means space is created in the computer memory. If space is created, then only you can store the values. Otherwise, you cannot store the values. See, just by writing the class name like this, class my class public I, j and k, directly you cannot store values here. Same 100, I cannot write here. I is equals to 100. You will get error because after writing the class, we are not getting memory. Remember, see, this concept is very, very important. In interview, they may ask a question. After declaration of a class, whether we will get a memory or not, computer will give memory or not. No. Directly you can say the answer no. No memory is allocated for I, j and k. So that means if memory is not allocated, you cannot store value. Concept is, if memory is allocated, then you can store the value. If memory is not allocated, you cannot store the value. Because if space is there, you can keep some item. If space is not there, you cannot keep any item, right? In real world also, if there is any space, if I tell you keep this object in one place, if there is no place at all, so where you will keep? Similarly, in computer also, if memory is not allocated, you cannot store the values. So after a declaration of a class, you will not get any memory. So you cannot write I is equals to 100, j is equals to 4, like that you cannot write. Then when we are getting the memory, that is the question here. When this particular line is executed, my class A comma B, that is when objects are created, then we will get a memory. Once again, I am telling, when objects are created, then we will get a memory for variables present inside the class. What are the variables here? I, j and k. So how much amount of memory we are getting? Depending on the data type. So for int data type, we are getting 2 bytes of memory. For float, we are getting 4 bytes of memory. For character, we are getting 1 byte of memory. See, if you don't remember how many bytes memory is allocated, that is okay. It's not a problem. But one concept what you have to remember, when objects of a class are created, memory is allocated. This statement you have to remember. When objects of a class are created, memory is allocated. Yes, my class A comma B. 2 objects A and B are created and memory is allocated. Here one more important point is, 2 objects are there, right? A and B. For each object, I, j and k, memory is created. You just observe this diagram, how I have designed here. Object A, for object A, I, j and k. For object B, I, j and k. So that is the advantage of classes and objects. Advantage of class and objects is, if you just write one time I, j and k, you declare 100 objects. For 100 objects also you are getting memory. You just observe for these 2 objects only, you will come to know. For object A, I, j and k. For object B, I, j and k. So how you have to consider is memory for I, j and k with respect to object A and memory for I, j and k with respect to object B. In this way you have to consider. Understood? Memory for object A with memory for variables I, j and k with respect to object A. Memory for variables I, j and k with respect to object B. Now, if you say A dot I is equals to 100, where it is stored is memory for variable I with respect to object A. In that place it is stored. A dot I is equals to 100 means memory for variable I with respect to object A. In that place it is stored. In object B it is not stored because you have used A dot I. If you are using B dot I in memory I with respect to object B, it will be stored. If you use B dot I, we have not used B dot I, so it is stored only in A. See, just by using A dot I, it will not store in B dot I also. Okay, if you want to store in B, object B, how to use B dot I only. Okay, we have used A dot I, so it is stored in only object A. Again, A dot J is equals to 4, again it is stored in object A. That is value of J with respect to object A. Next, a dot k is equals to a dot I into a dot k is equals to a dot I into a dot j. So you just calculate. So calculations, how we have to do? We look at the memory representation and do. For variable I with respect to object, what is the value? 100. For variable j with respect to object a, what is the value? 4. So 100 into 4 is 400. So a dot k means for variable k with respect to object a, there it is stored. So you just look at this arrow mark, where it is stored, 100. Okay, fine. So now we got about a. What about b object? In b object, for variable I and j, we have not done anything. Just we have left blank. Only for k I have done something. What is that? B dot k is equals to 12. In the program, that line is there. See, this is the line. B dot k is equals to 12. So the memory for variable k with respect to object b. Value for variable k with respect to object b is 12. So only 12 is stored in object b. I hope you people got it. Now, if I display, what happens, you see. If I write a cout statement, so what values it is displaying, you just observe here. See here. So a dot k is equals to a dot k. So if a dot k value is 400, b dot k value is 12. Whichever object you are using, whichever variable you are using, with respect to that object and variable, those values are displayed. Okay. Okay. Now you can just go through this. If you have any doubts, you can ask. So we'll wait for a few seconds. Just go through it. See, especially object-oriented programming language, on the spot, you may not understand everything. Okay, so you don't feel bad for that. Okay, on the spot, today only I should understand everything. That's not possible. So you'll understand class by class. You'll understand. So I'll wait for a few seconds just to look at the program and code. This diagram. If you have any doubts, you can ask. See, in the previous example, only data is used, that is only variables are used. In this example, only function is used. Okay, you should not get confusion here. In the previous example, only variables are used. That is only data used. Data is used. Variables means data. Okay, and here only function is used. That is display function. Function means member function. Now, see how we have used a variable. In the same way, we are using functions here. Okay, see, look here. In the main function, we have declared two objects separately. So a is the class name, small letter a is the object name. See, in case of identifiers, if you change from uppercase to lowercase, identifiers are treated differently. That means, see, class name I have used capital letter A and object name I have used small letter a. Compiler will not get any confusion because wherever capital letter A comes in the entire program, it is considered as class name. Wherever small letter a comes in entire program, it is considered as object. So in that way, it will differentiate. So in identifiers, if you are using capital letters and small letters separately, it is treated as separate identifiers. There is no confusion at all. Okay, so compiler will not think that at some time I have to consider class name A as object name or small letter A as class name, nothing like that. Capital letter A is always considered as class name, small letter A is always considered as object name in this entire program. Okay, fine. Now, at this particular line, okay, A, at this particular line, so object A is declared. Object A is declared. Okay, next, at this particular line, okay, object B is declared. See, in the program, if you want to write in like this, that is this part of coding is called as documentation of a program documentation. Program documentation, if you want to do, put the 2/ symbols and write the explanation. So these explanations are not considered for execution. So if you do mistakes here, it is not considered. You don't worry. Just writing English sentence on your own way, just to understand for other users. So object A is declared, object B is declared. Next, I want to call this function. So how to call this function? Just like variable, Here also a dot display. So a dot display means here a refers to object. Okay, a is object. Then display is function name. Display is function name. Okay, or you can call it as member function. Understood? It is a member function. So in this way we have to use object name dot member function, and you should not put to you should not forget to put this opening parenthesis and closing parenthesis. That's very, very important. If you forget it, it is not considered as function. It is treated as somewhat different identifier, variable or something. So you have to put compulsory opening parenthesis and closing parenthesis. Okay. So now if you put that, the function is called. Similarly for b dot display. So using the b object and calling. So two times this function will be called. One for object A and another for object B. You look at this diagram. So here it is there. A, capital letter A, small letter A. Capital letter A is class name, small letter A is object name. So when the above line is executed, object A is declared. Object A is declared. And again, when the above line is executed, object B is declared. That is capital letter A, small letter B. Okay. Next, coming to the display function. See, it's very much clear here. A dot display will call the function display. B dot display will call the function display. So totally how many times it is called? Two times. So two times that message is displayed. Which message? Whatever it is present inside this function. In class A colon display. These wordings, two times it is displayed, this message. So you are getting output like in class A display. Again, next line in class A display. Okay. Okay, once again I will explain this program just in brief. Program execution starts from the main function. So always when you are trying to analyze the program, you start from the main function. Okay. Of course, header files are written, class structures are written, but start from the main function. Okay. Next, in the main function, clear screen will clear the previous output if it is present on the screen. A dot A, capital letter A is class name, small letter A is object name. So when this line is executed, object A is created. Next, A dot display. So function will call, you just observe this diagram. A dot display will call this function. When it calls this function, whatever the coding present in that function will be executed. The codings are in class A display. That line is displayed. Next, A, capital letter A, small letter B. Capital letter A is class name, B is an object name. So object B is declared. And again, B dot display means again that function is called one more time because different object we are using. In the first case, I have used object A. In the second case, I am using object B. So two times function is called. So again, on the message what is present in the display function, that is printed. So two times the message in class A display, in class A display is displayed on the screen. Okay. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can just look at this program and explanation. If you come across any doubts, you can ask. So next concept is scope resolution operator. Okay. So we will see what it is. Okay. See, whenever we write the functions, there are two ways of writing functions. In functions chapter we have discussed already, but once again I will tell you. That is, see, after writing the header file, okay, you write the just function prototype. Like if I, for example, we'll consider a display function only. If I write void display, okay, void display, put a semicolon. So then what you do, write the main function, okay. You just complete writing main function, whatever the code you want to write, you write in the main function, okay. Just complete it. Afterwards, you can write the function that is display. See, when you write the functions like this, void display semicolon, this is not complete function. So don't get confusion here. This is not complete function. It is called as prototype. See, prototype concept is very, very important. Only I'm telling you, this type of lines are called as prototype, or you can say declaration statements or prototype statements. After writing the main function, then you can extend that function. Then you can write actual code. Okay. Then you can write the actual code. So here I have written actual code of the function. This is one way. Okay. Another way is like directly you can write function without writing prototype. That means if you are writing this function first only, before the main function only, if you are writing, then no need of writing prototype. See, you just observe the difference between these two. Okay, I will make separately. You just observe the difference between these two. In the first example, I have written prototype before the main function. After the main function, I have written complete function. In the second example, before the main function only, I have written complete function. That means in C++, if you are writing before the main function only, that is any sub functions, then no need of writing prototype. Okay, if you are writing sub function after the main function, then prototype is necessary, compulsory how to write prototype. Then you can write that particular function, that is complete function, after the main function. In the second example, if you are writing before the main function only, then no need of prototype. These are the two ways of writing. So this concept is applied for classes also. That means, see, for example, if I am writing class A, in the class, if I am writing one function, say display only, in the public section, if I am writing public display, okay, sorry, public display. See, this is one way of writing, just prototype I am writing, and outside the class, I am writing function. So take this complete function outside the class, remove the semicolon, write the code. Okay, see, look here, understood? So this particular line is called as prototype. It is not called complete function, it is called as prototype. And this entire function is called as definition, where you are writing actual code. Definition. Okay, so this is called as prototype, this is called as definition. That means in the class I am writing only prototype, outside the class I am writing complete function. This is one way of writing. Another way of writing is, see, instead of writing prototype and again outside class function, directly you bring entire function within the class itself, like this. So this is one way of writing. In both the cases, you have to write public expressware. That you should not forget. This is one way of writing. You just observe the difference. In the first thing, I have written prototype. Outside the class, I am writing function. In the second case, complete function, I am writing inside the class only. In this case, no, you don't require prototype. When you are writing complete function inside the class, you don't require prototype. Now we will consider second part. First part. That is, write prototype first. Then outside the class, you have to write the function. In this case, what we have to do, one extra step you have to do when you are using this type of concept. That is, first writing prototype inside the class, again writing complete function outside the class. The one extra step what you have to do is, after writing this void data type, you have to write class name. Class name is A. After class name, you have to put this operator. 2 colon symbols you have to write without a space. So you should not use like this. 2 colon symbols without a space you have to write. This type of symbol is called as scope resolution operator. 2 colon symbols immediately, continuously, without space. Okay, 2 colon symbols you have to type. This type of operator is called as scope resolution operator. Why it is used is, you have to link this function name with this class name. Function name you have to link with class. So only void is the data type, A is the class name, scope resolution operator, display is the function. So this type of operator is called as scope resolution operator. Now we will see the definition of that. What definition they are telling. Okay. So scope resolution operator links a class name with a member name, either the data member or the member function, in order to tell to the compiler to what class that data member or member function belongs. So why we have to write the scope resolution operator is in order to tell for which class it belongs. So if you look at this example, so what I have written in the notepad, if you look at this example, this display function belongs to the class A. How we are telling? Write the class name A, write the scope resolution operator, then I can say this display function belongs to class A. So this is the use of scope resolution operator. So in detail, we will see tomorrow. Okay. This is just a definition. In detail, we will see tomorrow. Okay. So till now, if you have any doubts, you can ask.